Looking at the technology we use today, the CPU, or central processing unit, has been the performance bottleneck for decades. Flow computing has developed a new licensable technology that chipmakers can integrate directly into their CPUs to dramatically boost performance in parallel computing. Timo, when people say the computer is the bottleneck, what does that actually mean for a business? Say, a streaming service, an online store, even a bank processing payments?
Speed is the superpower of computing, so it's going to be transformative. Every industry has its several means to utilize to improve performance for the computation. So whether it would be logistic services, business simulation, banking transactions, whether you're talking about AI inference in edge computing, whether you're talking about cloud services.
And you've created what you call a parallel processing unit, or PPU. In simple terms, how does this change the way a computer handles work compared to a traditional CPU?
It's a parallel processing unit. You can think it as a turbocharger. So it is basically a co-processor that is working with the CPU. So it's a hardware block with its own software and compiler stacks. What I basically think it as an offload mechanism. So when the CPU is getting a part of parallel workload, so that part of the workload will be offloaded to GPU. Because what CPUs are doing, so they are sequential computation machines. Anything that's parallel will be caught in a loop. So that loop, that synchronization, those latency will mean that you're slowing down, you're getting behind. But then you can offload those kind of parts of the code, parts of the workload that will slow down the performance to PPU, parallel processing unit. So then the CPU can do the things that it does the best.
What's interesting is that your technology works across different chip architectures. How were you able to design something that's so flexible?
That was the starting point overall, that we try to do instructions at independent. So we are playing in a very narrow, focused horizontal layer. So doing this parallel processing unit, the co-processor, we are prepared to support the whole market. And the additional thing is basically this parametric nature of the technology. So we can configure it for different solutions. So different amount of PPU cores, different amount of functional units, ALUs in there. So it can be like a supercomputer configuration, whereas you can basically do a bit like a less PPU cores and go for even smartphone, even smartwatches type of a very tight, small CPU configurations for power efficiency will still significantly improve performance.
How much does your company disrupt the Intels and Qualcomms of the world? Could you shift the power balance on the market today?
In a sense, we are wrestling above our league. So it's what we are developing. It's a potential disruptor. So we've been getting a bit like quotes from the customers directly. Okay, you guys are developing a Ferrari engine, so it's going to be fast. It's going to have a turbocharger, and somebody even saying, "What is this PPU parallel processing technology? It's a potential nuclear missile." Starting an arms race, that if your competition is going to have it, you need to have it as well. So it could become a necessity that must have. Seeing over the past years, so on top of these Intel's, Qualcomm's of the world, so you're getting the hyperscalers are getting more and more active. Amazon is having their own CPU developed for their own cloud. Microsoft is doing the same. And just recently, a few weeks ago, so Meta or Facebook, another company, said they bought Rivos, which is a CPU company making RISC-V CPU. So it just bought it out with an unannounced sum of money. So this is happening there, which is really helping us in the sense that the CPU is thought as more like an area that should be invested in and need to be put back on par. It's the central processing unit for a reason. It is central.
You spun out of VTT, one of Europe's leading research organizations. Why was now the right time to bring it to market?
What we are developing is not a one-trick pony, so there's not just one thing that you need to do. So it's a complete architecture that's optimized for the parallel processing unit. So we have more than 30 patents. We have the building blocks that it actually works. Everything is in place, and that's been building together over the years. CPU industry and the computing industry has been going in the direction. Moore's law is not really catching up, so it's getting more and more scrutinized and more sort of out of the pace. So demand is not really met by the CPU computational power. So timing in that sense was right.